So today I'm going to talk about this SCPH 1002 PlayStation that I recently picked up off eBay. It was listed as faulty, as not reading CDs. And yeah, just basically to talk about the pickup, the repairs, the work I've done to it. And also a bit of a plea to those people that are selling, you know, games, consoles, even stuff that have got faults that are in need of repair. Just think about how you're packaging it up and how you're posting it off to somebody, because you might not care anymore because it's an old console, it's got a fault, it's not working anymore, it means nothing to you and it's got no value as far as you're concerned, no real value anyway. But seriously, do a better job than put it in a couple of these things, because this offers little to no protection. And unfortunately, one of the first things I noticed with this, you can see some little bits of plastic there. Yeah, some bits of plastic had chipped off the casing because it had been so poorly packaged, and obviously the postal service, it gets thrown around. There's more damage inside. It actually had some of the screw mounting points had snapped off as well. There's actually a crack which you won't see on this part of the case as well, so it's really unfortunate that this wasn't packaged very well. But this thing was in absolutely disgusting condition when it arrived. Just to let you know, the seller, to give him some credit, as soon as I said, look, it's arrived damaged, there's broken plastic everywhere, you know, it wasn't posted or packaged particularly well, he refunded me straight away and said keep it. So I had a PlayStation for free in the end with a beaten up case. Some point I would like to try and find a replacement case for this, maybe one of those aftermarket translucent cases if I can find one, but yeah, that's if I can find one. So I've done some repairs inside in terms of I've been able to glue some of those screw mounting points. There's 5 of them. I've managed to glue 4 of them back on, or 3 of them back on, sorry, because one was intact. The one that's on this corner is proven to be more of a nightmare and keeps breaking free, so I'm going to have to do some more work to that, maybe use some stronger glue like some epoxy to glue that piece in place and make sure that it lines up as it should with the screw hole. But yeah, this thing had quite a few little issues, shall we say. First off, it was disgusting, as I said. You'll probably notice that this part of the plastic is lighter than the rest of it. That's because there was some weird sticker type residue that had been on this that I cleaned off with a magic eraser. I cleaned the whole case, I stripped the whole machine apart. It also had a laser mechanism, and the spindle had loads of bits of plastic chipped off it. This has actually got a good working laser assembly inside it now, because it actually works now. And it also came with this this backup copy of Toka 2 touring cars, so I guess that's what they were trying to play it with. Incidentally, that backup copy of Toka 2 doesn't work. I've even tried it in my good working 5552 PlayStation with the mod chip, and my other 1002 that's also got a mod chip, and it doesn't work on either of those 2 machines either. And it also made me think straight away, oh, okay, this might have a mod chip. They've either done disc swapping, which could be why the plastic pieces of the spindle are broken off, where they've exerted some force on that spindle when it's spinning, or it could actually have a mod chip inside it, because not everybody knows about the disc swapping technique. And sure enough, as I was stripping this disgusting thing down, there was a mod chip sellotaped to the bottom RF shielding, yes, literally wrapped in sellotape, with really, really, really long wires connecting it to the various points on the motherboard. It's not a stealth mod chip, it's one of those 3 or 4 wire jobs, so it won't work with games that have that anti-mod chip protection. It will give you that horrible, scary looking screen to tell you that it can't play the game, it's been terminated because your console has been modified. There are ways around that, but I'm not going to go into that right now. So yeah, one of the first things I did was clean the casing. I gave them a soak after stripping all the components out. I then, before I did anything else, I did things in a bit of a strange order. I shortened the wires and redid the installation of the mod chip to make it look better. So it's now much, much better looking inside here with much shorter wires. So there's less chance of there being interference, you know, because the longer the cable, the longer the wire is, there's more chance of interference, more chance of signal degradation. So the mod chip, you know, might not always work, but I've now solved that problem by making the wires short, like I did when I installed my mod chip in my 1002. My other 1002, that is now. So yeah, this machine had more problems. The original laser mechanism appeared to be dead to the world initially. I then put this one in, and it did nothing. Absolutely nothing. I was powering the machine on, holding down the CD lid switch on the motherboard. Nothing. The machine would turn on and you get the memory card and CD player main menu screen, but nothing else. For those of you that know, with a 1002, what will happen is when you hold down the CD close switch, if you like the lid close switch, the laser mech will just bob up and down. The spindle won't spin. It won't sort of do the little spin like it does in the later models. You'll just see the laser bobbing up and down and the little red dot in the centre of it. I was getting no signs of life, even with my good working laser that I knew worked fine. So I was then beginning to wonder, right, okay, have they killed the CD-ROM control circuitry in some way, shape or form, and that's why nothing's happening. But I noticed a couple of other things that were happening. There was some sort of arcing going on at the back of the power supply, which I thought, great, here we go. So I had to take the power supply back out and I reflowed the solder joints. I added a ton of flux and reflowed the solder joints on the connector. In fact, I'll show you the connector that I'm talking about on the back there. So that's been reflowed and is much, much stronger, makes a solid connection. So that stopped the arcing. But it still wasn't right, and I could see some little flashes coming underneath a capacitor that sits around about here on the back of that power supply board. And what was weird, don't ask me why I did this, but I sort of touched that capacitor. I don't know why I did that, to be honest with you. And then strangely enough, the CD drive started working. I then held down the switch and the laser was bobbing up and down. So I thought, okay, if there was a bad joint there, perhaps there's a bad joint underneath that capacitor, which I've pushed down and made the connection stronger, and that in some way affects the laser mechanism or the CD-ROM drive. So I hooked the power supply back out again, did exactly the same, loads of flux, lovely clean new solder, bingo, that fixed it, it was working. I could then get this thing to read discs, and I used a guide that I found online, which I also use with my other 1002 in my setup, to actually set the laser up. There's a guy who shows some measurements where you can get things set up. I know, strictly speaking, you should use a scope to do this, so you get the eye pattern and you can get it all set properly and optimally. But I used that guide before and I used it on this one to set this one up. And now this PlayStation works great. This 1002B works great. I'm really, really pleased with it. Obviously, the casing damage is a shame. It's disappointing, but you know, it's just one of those things. Maybe in the future, I'll get a aftermarket translucent case for it. Hopefully, this one also, I'm probably going to use with PSIO. In the future, I'm likely to buy the PSIO cartridge, and it requires a switchboard to be soldered into the bottom of the motherboard. So I might use this one, because I got this console for free essentially, to do the PSIO switchboard installation and give me that instead. But yeah, this 1002 works, which is absolutely awesome. Now, what isn't so awesome is another machine I'm going to show you. So in front of us here is an SCPH 9002, which I got from Craig Turner. Thanks, Craig. It's an awesome console and one that I really wanted to collect for my collection of PlayStation hardware. But due to me measuring the laser voltage and trying to see what was going on, because I wanted to set the laser up and adjust the voltages and make sure that it was running at a decent level, not too high to burn out the laser, this now doesn't work at all. I've managed to do something. I've maybe managed to short a connection somewhere in the CD-ROM control circuitry, and this does nothing now in terms of you hold down the lid switch and there's no signs of life from the CD-ROM drive at all. This doesn't spin and that doesn't bob up and down. So I'm not sure what I've done to this, but I've managed to kill it in some way, shape or form. This really is for advice from anybody. Hint, hint, Gadget UK, because he knows all about these things. Any advice on what I can test maybe with my meter to see whether I've killed something, see whether something isn't quite right. Maybe there's a chip, I think there's a driver chip that I might maybe have killed in some way, which is why I'm getting no response from the drive anymore. Let me know in the comments. Let me know what I've done wrong. Let me know if there's any way I can rectify it, because I'd love to get this 9002 back up and running again, because it's a shame. I think I must have shorted something out and it's killed the CD-ROM circuitry, so it's a really big shame about that. But lastly, you know, I talked about packaging of games consoles and things getting damaged. I've just received something else in the post in a Jiffy envelope. It's a PlayStation game. As we know, them cases are fragile. Yeah, this has really annoyed me. So this is Euro 2000, which most people aren't going to care about. It's an old sports title, whatever. But it's cracked. And it was posted to me in a Jiffy envelope, and it's also cracked up here as well, which is really, really annoying. They sent it to me in a Jiffy envelope. For the love of God, why? Because these things are really fragile, these PlayStation cases. They break very, very easily. I'm so annoyed at these people that just don't seem to care when they sell stuff on eBay or on Facebook groups, Facebook Marketplace, and they send it to you in the cheapest way possible, which means it ends up getting to you broken. You'd be lucky if it survives the journey. It is so annoying. Guys, just if you are selling your old games, your old consoles, it might not mean anything to you anymore. It might just be, yeah, just go, just get rid, don't care anymore, want to clear some clutter. But think about the person buying it, you know? This was described on eBay as being in really good condition. There was no mention of any cracks or any damage. But it is damaged in transit. It's been damaged through the post, which has really annoyed me. So guys, I hate to end videos on a negative note, but thank you for watching, and I'll catch you again soon. Hopefully, we'll do something a bit more positive next time.